All right, today we're jumping into Simon Sinek's playbook for what he calls mental fitness. We're going to explore the incredible courage it takes to be vulnerable and what it really means to be a true friend. Let's get right into it. So this whole thing kicks off with a crisis. And honestly, it's a crisis I think a lot of us can probably relate to. The crazy part, this isn't some rookie just starting out. We're talking about Simon Sinek, a best-selling author, a guy who's supposed to be at the absolute top of his game. He had everything he was supposed to want, but something was just really, really wrong on the inside. And that leads us straight to the heart of the problem Sinek talks about, that huge, exhausting gap between the successful life we show the world and the chaos we might actually be feeling. I mean, on the surface, everything looked perfect, right? He had his own business, he was working with these incredible clients, doing work that actually mattered. By every single outside metric, he was crushing it. But that was just the outside. That was the mask. On the inside, it was total burnout. He just didn't want to do it anymore. That fire, that passion that drove him for so long, it was just gone. And here's where it gets really interesting. How the silence just made everything a million times worse. He felt embarrassed, thinking, I have all the success, I shouldn't feel this way. So he just kept it all bottled up. But Sinek makes this brilliant point. Those feelings don't just disappear. Nope, they fester. They grow in the dark. They feed on themselves. And this, right here, shows you the true cost. Can you just imagine the sheer amount of energy it takes to keep up that act? Every single day, all that effort went into pretending, into putting on a show, which left absolutely zero energy to actually figure out what was wrong and fix it. So, what was the turning point? Well, the breakthrough didn't come from some new business idea or a flash of insight. It came from a friend who had the guts to step in. This is the moment everything changed. His friend didn't just ask the casual, "Hey, how are you?" and then move on after hearing the usual, "I'm fine." No way. She saw right through it, and she refused to let it go. She leaned right into that awkward, uncomfortable moment because she actually cared. And that persistence, it was everything. It created this safe space where Sinek could finally just say it all out loud. He said the feeling was cathartic. Like this massive weight was just lifted. All that energy he'd been burning on pretending was suddenly free. And this moment right here, it perfectly breaks down the two kinds of friends we all have. On one side, you have the friend who just wants to avoid discomfort. They hear you say, "I'm fine," and they're like, "Okay, great," and they just let it go. But then you have the courageous friend. They hear "I'm fine" and they know it's a lie. And instead of backing off, they lean in. They don't care about the tension, they just care about you. They're the ones who say, "Hey, whatever it is, I got you." This entire experience led Sinek to a really big shift in how he thinks about this stuff, moving away from the idea of mental health and towards something way more useful and human. Just look at this breakdown here. The term mental health can sound like a destination, right? Like a finish line. And if you're sad, it feels like you're broken or you failed. But mental fitness, well, that reframes the whole thing. It's a practice, just like going to the gym. You're going to have good days and you're going to have bad days, and that is totally okay.
So here's the key takeaway. Mental fitness is the day in, day out practice of showing up for yourself. It's built on the idea that feeling sad or doubtful or insecure doesn't mean you're failing. It just means you're human. Think about it. You can have an off day at the gym, right? Well, you can have an off day emotionally too.
And when you embrace this way of thinking, something kind of strange happens. You can actually feel grateful for the tough times. By accepting those darker moments, Sinek says he feels more normal, more, human. The down days actually help us appreciate the good ones, and they show us where we need to put in the work. Okay, so if that's the mindset, how do we actually put it into practice? How do we become that courageous friend for someone else? Sinek has this really powerful metaphor for it. This is it, right here. This is the whole idea. When someone you care about is struggling, they're in the mud. They don't need you to be a hero and pull them out. They don't need you to fix them or hand them a towel. They just need you to get in the mud with them, so they don't have to be there alone. So, how do we actually do this? Let's break it down. First, and this is the hardest one, you have to fight that urge to fix it. It's not a puzzle for you to solve. Second, don't offer a towel, don't try to clean them up, or tell them to cheer up before they're ready. The real gift, points 3 and 4, is just you, your presence. That's the gift. Just being there, listening, and holding that space for them. That's everything.
And this all boils down to a super simple but incredibly powerful rule that he and his close friends live by: no crying alone. It's a deal they have with each other. If you get to that point of absolute frustration or sadness, you pick up the phone. Period. You never have to go through it by yourself.
All right, let's flip the script for a second. We've talked a lot about being there for other people, but what about when we're the ones in the mud? This brings us to what Cynic says is maybe the greatest lesson any of us can ever learn.
Man, this is so powerful. We're taught to see asking for help as a sign of weakness, right? As something humiliating. But Cynic totally reframes it. He says it's the ultimate act of courage. It's the most important lesson we can learn about being human.
We carry around this idea that we're supposed to be strong enough or smart enough to handle all of our own problems. But the simple, honest truth is, we can't. We just aren't designed that way. We're social creatures. We thrive in teams, in communities. We just can't do it alone.
So why is it so hard then? Well, because it feels humiliating. We spend so much time and energy projecting this image that we've got it all together, that we're perfect. And because we're so good at that performance, the people around us, they often have absolutely no clue that we're struggling.
And that leads to this beautiful, hopeful idea. We might feel completely alone, but the reality is we are surrounded by people who genuinely want to help us. They really do. But they can't read our minds. They're just waiting for us to take that one incredibly brave step and ask. So, let's just end with this thought. Who can you sit in the mud with this week? Is there someone in your life who needs you to be that courageous friend for them? Or maybe, just maybe, is it time for you to be courageous enough to ask a friend to come sit with you? That connection we're all looking for, it's right there. It's just waiting for one of us to lean in.